Hey everyone, welcome to episode 185 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. Wait a minute. Episode 185 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. It's been that long, I can't even say it properly anymore that we did the last episodes. But this is Mark Stevenson from Clients First Marketing.
All right, and that's utter confusion there. So this is Mark Vila from ColDesi, and for those of you who've listened to this before, then maybe Mark Stevenson will explain what he means about that. For anyone who's this is their first time listening, I apologize for Mark Stevenson's antics ahead of time, but there's some really good content coming up in probably about a minute or two.
It could be. So for those of you that have been listening for a while, I'm no longer officially with ColDesi. I've got my own marketing company that I've been doing on the side for quite a while, and we've talked about that kind of freely in podcasts in the past. It's how I've been able to bring some outside perspective into the custom apparel business, and I'm just doing that full time now. But that's not going to change what happens here on the podcast. So I'm excited to keep going forward just with a slightly new introduction.
All right. Well, great. I love it. And I'm excited to hear some more things you have to tell us in other episodes. But Mark is going to continue to participate in Custom Apparel Startups podcast for many episodes. We're also going to have a lot of other guests from ColDesi and from outside of ColDesi, I hope, as well. So guests are welcome. If you're interested in being a guest and you have something good to offer, please reach out. But we've got a bunch of cool stuff on the line. But today we've got something particularly interesting. And it has to do with some of Mark's recent experience, but also just in general, some things that we've researched and known over the years from talking to plenty of customers, how to handle and keep your customers.
Yeah. And especially during that transition, when you've only got 10 customers, 12, 15 customers, 20 customers, if you're really smart, if you've only got that number of customers, then it's really not too hard to keep everybody straight, right? To keep all the orders because you know everyone, you remember doing the quote, you've got an easy job management kind of thing because there's not that many customers to deal with and not that many orders. But that really changes completely once you start to scale up and add, whether it's customer number 11 for you or customer number 50 for you, whatever marks that transition in your business from something that you can wrap your head around easily to you can no longer wrap your head around it easily. That's kind of the point that we're talking about. Yeah.
And actually it is when you reach that point, and you kind of, it's too late once you've reached it, because when you reach that point and you're no longer organized, you're forgetting things, you're leaving clients behind, you're probably going to lose a client at that point in time when you realize, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this meeting. I missed a deadline. I forgot to follow up. I forgot to order. Just because you have too much stuff going on, you may have very well lost a client. So that's one reason why it's too late. The second reason why it's too late is now you're a little bit over busy. You're having a hard time keeping up. You're between just the mess of how you're keeping everything and inside your brain you can't keep up. Then you decide you want to find some solutions, which we'll talk about. And you've got to learn how to use those potentially, or write them or make them or whatever it might be. So you've just added more workload.
Oh yeah, and it's not just that, and it's you still have to enter in everything that's happened. Like you still have to, it's not like you can just say, okay, I'm only going to systemize things from the last customer forward. No, you've got to include those original customers and those original deals and everything in your whatever organizational style that you adopt or software that you pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought your audio dropped, but I think it was me. For some reason, I lowered my speakers. But anyway, if the audio did drop, I apologize.
Okay.
But I think we're good. So, so this is essentially what we're talking about here is you're working with a lot of customers. It gets very challenging. Some customers are going to be needy. Some customers are going to communicate poorly. Some are not going to pay on time. There's going to be a lot of different things you're dealing with. And it's not when you have a system like an e-commerce store where you're taking individual orders consistently, and maybe you don't have a lot of repeat customers. You have people buying t-shirts of something that is hot or trending at the time, and you may never see them again, right? That's different than managing a book of clients. Like if you have schools, businesses, sports teams that
Right.
you want to depend on them over time. They potentially could be, each of those clients could be 5, 10, 20, 30% of your business when you take them up.
Yep.
And if you say you have like 20 or 30 clients and things start getting messy and you start making mistakes, it's too late. So here are some things that you can do to help handle all those clients, keep those customers, and overall just make your business better.
Yep, that's true. And I think, and we've done bunches of episodes on this in the past. I think one of the first ones that you want to take a look at is a CRM. That's where we're going to start, right, Mark?
Yep, that's the first thing to start. And we've talked about this a bunch, but a CRM, a customer relationship manager software, essentially it's just a piece of software where if you know what this is, great. If not, you should jump out and Google and find one. But it's a piece of software that is notes and all the information about your customers.
Right. It's if you think about it, if you are on the phone with a customer and you open up a spiral binder or legal pad or notepad or whatever, and you ask the customer for their information, everything that you write down is exactly what you would type into a CRM. Mm-hmm. The difference is instead of flipping back through a book to try to find your notes, if it's all typed into a CRM, you can, if you remember their last name, you can type in their last name and search for it. If you, if you tag them properly and know everybody, they were interested in sweatshirts, then you could type in sweatshirt and that customer would pop up. So, at the intake point, it's super important to have something like a CRM, especially because this is where it all starts. And it's also something where if you got it, you would load up all your existing customers in it as well.
Right. So it's a modern day Rolodex. If you're old school and you've been around for a while and you had a Rolodex or a book full of business cards, it's a modern day version of that does so much more than just store phone numbers. So one of the keys to get from the very beginning is to get some sort of CRM. You can get a free one. It doesn't have to cost you money. If you, in the very beginning, if you don't have the money or you don't want to invest in one yet, if you do have the ability to invest a little bit of money, not too much, just a little bit of money every month. What do you think is a reasonable cost for a good CRM, a monthly?
So it really depends on what you want. So a very basic CRM, I mean, you can get into Zoho or something similar for 20 to 50 bucks a month if you want to go paid. The client's first CRM, which is one that I'm kind of customizing for the custom t-shirt business, is going to be a lot more. For a more advanced CRM that does more things, you're going to expect to pay between 70 and 100 bucks a month.
And
you by far, you don't have to start with that.
Right.
But it depends on the kind of functionality that you're looking for.
Right. So step one would be free basic.
Yep.
Do that. 100%, find a free one. Many of them will let you have up to 100 or 250 or more customers for 100% for free. You have to do that minimum.
And first, let me interject. Don't get analysis paralysis here. Find one that looks easy to use and get it, right? Because they're all very transferable. Right. So just find something. Don't spend your whole life. Don't use that as an excuse not to get started. Just get started, pick one and get started and start typing stuff in.
Yeah, that's great. And the next level up would be find an entry level one where you're going to pay 20, 30 bucks a month, something like that. Yep. You will see that you're going to get more features like that. And the next level up is going to be, a higher level one.
Yep.
which is like something like Mark mentioned, and the client's first one. And that is going to do things like it's going to already have things like automated text messaging or going from sale to invoice, and you can move things around.
You add workflows in there, all kinds of stuff as you grow. But but a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about next is also included in many CRMs.
Yes, and
right?
even in many of the freebies. I mean, of course,
absolutely,
read the feature list, but at minimum, get a free CRM at bare minimum, because it's really going to help you out. Because by the time you wish you did it, it's going to be too late, and then you're going to have to backfill the information, and you're already staying up too late printing T-shirts, right? So.
Let me just interject something
Sure.
about your workflow now, because this is a really important step in taking that next step in your business. Is when you get a phone call or when you get an email, rather than relying on that pad next to you, you're going to keep your CRM open, and that's where you're going to take all your notes. That's where you're going to do your intake. This is now a substitute for your pad and paper next to your desk. So if you engage in that discipline, it will be a very easy transfer from using a pen and paper to just typing it in on your computer.
Right. That's great. That's where you put in that, the customer hates polyester shirts because they're allergic, things like that. Okay, so that's great. The next thing that's going to be important to do to keep yourself happy is to set reminders.
Right.
And I think this is like such an obvious thing and shouldn't even be said. But if anything important needs to happen, remind a customer to get art, remind to pick something up, remind to drop something off. Anything that's really important and critical, you should set a reminder for. And I mean electronically, in your phone, in your CRM, wherever it might be. You need to make sure you get reminded to do things, because as you get busy, and you're running around embroidery machines and you're running around client phone calls, from noon to 3 o'clock is going to fly by super fast. And you needed to drop something off at UPS by 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And you missed it, right? So reminders are huge, right?
I think that this is, and it combines with what's next, which is using your calendar and setting your calendar reminders as well. I think that one of the things that has saved me in the past month of going fully into the marketing business is having a single calendar with reminders set, because there's been times, and especially when you're doing the work yourself, like if you're the one that's printing the T-shirts and at the heat press and everything. I mean, sometimes if I don't get a reminder that I've got to make a phone call or I have a meeting or something in 10 minutes, then I'm just going to write blog posts right through that time period.
Yeah.
And I'm not, because I'm careful about interruptions, I'm not going to see my phone. I'm not going to get any of that, but I will get a calendar reminder pop up on my laptop while I'm working.
Yeah.
Or,
I'll tell you,
if I've got the CRM open on my phone, I will get a notification that way as well.
Yeah, I do the same. I mean, if I'm really trying to concentrate on something, especially working on a spreadsheet, doing art, you and I write articles, right? Writing an article. It very well could be something a little bit more technical and important in our industry, right? Like you're lining up vinyl for T-shirts. You don't want to be constantly picking up your phone, looking at things, checking the time, because you're concentrating, lining those things up. You're in the zone. You got some flow going on, getting production done. It's going to be important that you have a reminder with a specific sound that sound means I should probably stop what I'm doing and check.
Hey, listen, just imagine that you had a personal assistant that would, that when if you imagine, you're on the phone and you do a quote and the customer says, I'm going to think about it a little bit. I need to order by Wednesday. If you don't hear from me, give me a call back Wednesday morning. So imagine you just type in your notes and you set a reminder inside your CRM or inside your calendar or somewhere. It's like having a personal assistant. You say, here's everything I have to do. Come tap me on the shoulder when it's time for me to do that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's like. If you can't afford that, then use a CRM and use your calendar, because it's literally the same thing. It's definitely, I'm super productive now because I definitely focus on the task at hand until the bell rings and I see what I'm supposed to be doing next. And there's no way you're going to remember that somebody has this event every year and you need to call them in April 1st next year. There's just no way. So definitely the setting reminders thing is important.
Yep. I think it's great if you if you have an iPhone or an Android phone of some sorts, Samsung, something like that, they're going to have built-in reminder apps in the software. So if you don't know how to use those and you would like to do it on your mobile device, just go to YouTube and search how to use iPhone reminders, and there'll be a video to learn how to do it, and boom, you'll be a pro in a couple minutes, and just start throwing things in there. Also between Siri is for iPhone. Do you have one for your phone? Your
Google.
Samsung? Google. Hey, Google, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
You can just say it and it will do it, which is cool too.
I would do it on the way to work. I would set reminders for when I arrived at work. Yeah. And it would it would do it by location to remind you. Yep. I do that plenty. When I do it in my personal life a lot because of work. So I'll say, remind me when I get to Lowe's to also get air filters. Yeah. And because I'm driving and it just popped in my head, and you can use your voice to do it too. So there's never an excuse as long as you actually set them. It's really important. So, and I'll expand that into the calendar area too, and also mention this CRM stuff again. And that is, if you think reminders like that are going to be valuable for you, whether it's integrated into a calendar or not, they're just as valuable if you can remind your customers of things. So you can actually set, remind me to follow up with John on April 3rd about this job. You can also send an automated text message or email on that day. Like every April for the rest of my life, John's going to get an email from me on Wednesday at 8 a.m. Hey, are you still doing that t-shirt order? And you're just going to get business because that happens. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell you, if you have, Amazon, Walmart, any of these apps, CVS, they will tell you when it's time for you to get something else again. And they get so much business because of that. Yeah. I'll just say, you're probably running low on this. I'll get those emails and stuff from Amazon. And I'll say, I probably am. I don't even know if I am. I'm just going to order it so I don't run out. And then I go ahead and get that. So it's fantastic if you could do that. It's just another little thing. So go into the next one on the list. And since you mentioned it, Mark, is using a calendar. Yeah. So talk about how important that is. And again, this is obvious. And I hate to say, to preach to the choir to folks, but so many people don't use a calendar. And tell us how important it is. So, I mean, even internally at ColDesi, there were a few higher ups that did not spend all day on their emails like Mark and I did. But they just were like, hey, let's meet at 2. And that would be it. I would immediately fill out a calendar invitation for a meeting at 2 p.m. And I would invite everyone that was supposed to be at the meeting. So it wouldn't be a run around the building, go, hey, is Bob here right now? We're supposed to have a meeting. Steve said it was time, and, all of that stuff. It's super important if it's your own paycheck that's on the line, if it's your own business on the line, that not just you, but your customers know and have a reinforcement and a commitment to when you're supposed to get together. So if you have got a call on that Wednesday with Bob about the next t-shirt job, then don't leave it at just exchanging emails. Say, I'm going to call you. If you send them a calendar invitation and they hit yes, they've done a couple of things. First of all, they've committed to you that they're going to be there and that they are available, right? That's kind of a mental and emotional commitment to availability. And the second thing is, not only are you going to get the reminder on your calendar, but they're going to get the reminder on their calendar when they hit accept. So everybody's going to get notified. Everybody knows when it is. There's no excuses. You get notified in advance as a reminder. You are now in a place where those 5 customers that you used to have, you could keep track and your friends, and you can give them a hard time if they don't show up. 75 customers, 50 customers, you can't manage your days like that. You know, just from a customer interaction perspective, you've got to use a calendar system to schedule meetings, make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So anytime that you can get a time from a customer and when to show up, be there, meet somewhere, be on the phone, whatever it is, you definitely want it on your calendar, and it's really great to get it on theirs.
Yeah.
Because it's going to remind them, and they're going to feel obligated as well too, which they should be, because they told you. But they'll feel even more obligated when they pick up their phone, and especially, you know, if you have an iPhone, something like that. When I wake up in the morning, my little calendar widget tells me that I have something happening at 10 a.m. Yeah. So I went to check the time, and in the corner I saw meeting with Mark Stevenson at 10 a.m. And then immediately, you know, my mind shifts. Oh yeah, I have that meeting. Am I prepared for it? Let me double check, you know, all that stuff. So that'll be great. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other use for a calendar and meetings in particular is as part of the sales process, right? So if you do a quote, you can get a commitment from the customer on when you're going to follow up on it. I'm going to put this in my calendar. I'm just going to invite you, so you'll know I'm going to call to follow up and see where you are.
And there's lots of things you can do in those calendar invites, depending on the situation. So you can remind people 15 minutes before is usually when most things default to. But you can add second or third reminders to those as well. Remind people hours before or a day before. If they should be preparing something ahead of time for you, for example, getting the size of shirts for everybody in their office, because you're going to come and you're going to finalize the order and you're going to want to have the list. So you could, in that reminder of when you're coming on Wednesday morning, in the calendar invite, you could put remind 24 hours before, and they'll get a reminder that says on their phone or their email that says tomorrow, so-and-so get the sizes. Yeah. And it's all in the calendar invite. So one thing I was going to say about calendars are, there's calendar apps. You know, right now, probably the hot one is Calendly.
Yep.
It's a paid service. I think they have free stuff, but they don't give you much unless you pay. And it's, I think, 10 or 20 bucks a month. It's not too expensive. I think 20. And what this is you can sync up your personal calendar and your work calendar and all that stuff in there. And all of that's only visible to you, but you can send somebody a link and it will show them the times you're available. That's great for those times when you are trying to coordinate meeting with somebody and you're consistently getting, I'm busy then. Nope, I'm busy then. Then. You can send them a link and they'll be able to click on it and it will show a virtual calendar for you with the time slots you have available. And they can click and pick one right there if they want to and take that spot.
I'll tell you, and you've probably used Calendly maybe without even knowing it, but I just finished a podcast series for attorneys on paid advertising. And every time I get an email from one of them, there's a suggestion for a Calendly link, like book a time on my calendar. And you click and you can see the calendar, you can pick the time that you're available, and it avoids that back and forth. The other thing is that a good CRM will also have this built in. Right. So, you know, you can use the calendar inside your CRM and you can have the same kind of functionality. But I really like the note that you put in here and how to manage your not online time with your calendar as well. Blocking out time for other things. Yeah.
I block out probably at least 8 hours a week minimum every single week on a rolling thing to make sure, for one, it's a little bit of a reminder for me to check stuff. Right. So I block something for social media and during that time it pops up on my phone, and whatever's I was distracted with before, I say, okay, let me just go check that. And I go and I check and I make sure some of those things are updated and I get it done. It also prevents somebody from looking at my calendar and thinking that I'm all free all the time for
Right.
everybody, because I'm not. And you shouldn't be either. So if you normally do embroidery work every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 8 to 11, specifically you block that time for that reason, for many reasons, probably.
Right.
But whatever all the reasons are, like there's no kids around, you never have this, whatever there are, you booked them then. And if you start booking calls during that slot, you could probably take a call at a different time, but that embroidery slot's there for a specific period of time. So if you had that, you should put those in your calendar, block them out. For one, that's great for Calendly or your CRM, because people won't be able to book that slot. And it will remind you that, nope, Thursday morning, I'm doing embroidery. Sorry.
Yeah, you'll get that reminder. As a matter of fact, personally, I just did this because I walk in the mornings 3 or 4 days a week, depending on the weather. And it's usually at 7 now that it's light again. But what was happening was I was also doing LinkedIn posts every day. So I would just get up in the morning as I usually do, and I'd start working on a post. And then all of a sudden it would be 7:30 or 8 o'clock because I just kept going, like I just kept working, and then it was too late to accomplish what I had set out to do. So now when I wake up 10 minutes before I'm supposed to go for a walk, I actually get the calendar link, and I have doing that other stuff, the LinkedIn posts, things like that, set for later on in the day. So it's a great way to mix not just your professional life, but your personal life as well.
Yeah. And I'll put speaking of personal life stuff, you put in there if your kids have, soccer game, baseball game, if you want to take your significant other out for an anniversary dinner, you can block those in there too. And block out shopping time. It's great if you fill up that calendar. For one, it's definitely going to help with your business. It's going to keep your customers happy, and it's also going to allow you to balance your life.
I'll say too, last thing on that is it will give you an actual realistic look at your availability and your week. So if you have to pick up your kid from school, at 2:30 Monday through Friday, and it takes you 45 minutes, if that's not on the calendar, you might look at your day and say, look at all this time that I've got, but you've got to leave at 2:15. It takes you 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to pick them up, 15 minutes to get back, 35 minutes to get them all settled. So you're really not available to work, even to schedule your stuff for yourself to do during that time period. It may even give you the opportunity to look at your priorities and align your work schedule to fit.
Right. And all this is just really good stuff. The calendars and the reminders are so key. And if you're listening to this saying, I already do that, I would implore you to go through and actually look at your calendar and look at your reminders and see how often you aren't using it.
Right.
And if you add stuff in there, you're going to be happy.
So back to the kind of that transition between being able to keep everybody in your head and growing and still retaining your customers. The having policies and procedures that you put down here, Mark, is a lifesaver. Because you're setting up rules in advance and how you're going to conduct your business and how your customers are going to conduct their business with you.
Right. So a policy and a procedure for your business might be you don't accept blank goods from customers. You only provide the blanks. Right. It might be that all artwork needs to be submitted a minimum of 48 hours before production. It might be that nobody can just call your cell phone and you'll answer it and help them, like whatever it might be, right? And you have your own reasons for doing whatever those policies and procedures are. But if you need to kind of sit down and consider what are things you're willing and not willing to do for and with your customers and why you're doing it. Right. Okay. So if you don't want to do it because you don't like it, I mean, that's fair, right? There's having a business that you enjoy doing with things the way you like to do it is good. But more importantly, it's going to be the reason that you do it is to prevent issues. So you say you require art to be submitted 48 hours before production is going to start. So maybe you give them a date. You have to submit here if you want your product to be done by here. If you submit a day later, I move it out a day. Well, why do you have that? Because you know that there's probably a 50-50 shot that there's going to be a problem with the art. You're going to have to change something. You're going to have to get a second approval from them. So they're going to submit something. You're going to fix it. You're going to have to send it back to them. They're going to have to approve it. Then you're going to send it back again, right? And you go in this circle. And you know that that process can take a day or two. So you prepare that, and you have this, that you communicate this to your customers.
And I also like this, especially in that transition point, because it may be that you knew your first 10 customers and you're very friendly. So everybody just kind of gets along and they understand the business and the relationship. But when you get somebody new that doesn't know you personally, or maybe wasn't a referral or something like that, they're used to doing business with other people, you've got to have parameters set, because they may not be prepared for the idea that, I mean, you may want to collect 10 or 20% in advance before you build the order, where you wouldn't do that for somebody that you've done business with for 10 years. You know, you may want to make sure it's written down and they know it'll be 10 days, unless there's a rush fee, where for your first customers, they would just call you up and you'd be like, oh yeah, I have time, don't worry about it. Well, now it's different because you've got 30 customers. You can't do that. So you've really got to look at not just where you are right now, but in 6 months, if I have X number of customers, what do my policies and procedures have to be? And that will smooth that transition a lot. It'll save you a lot of heartache if you've got it all in writing.
Yeah. And it's, and honestly, it's your fault if you don't have a procedure for something and you don't communicate that to your customers.
Right.
And then you can't deliver on time, or whatever it is that makes them a dissatisfied customer. Essentially, it's your fault, because you didn't let them know. How should they know? You know, how should they know this? Why should they know this? And if you didn't communicate that, then they have a little bit of a right to be bothered by that and maybe not come back. However, if you communicate, you know, I have to have my art. You have to have the art, you know, by this time, and they submit it 3 days later, and then they ask you why it's going to be late. They may still have some dissatisfaction, but when you discuss with them, say, listen, I told you it was here. I sent you a reminder via email. I had a thing on my calendar to check on it. I called you and left you a message to check on it. And then 3 days later, you got back with me. I'm trying my hardest to help you. You know, this is what I can do for you. This is what I can't.
Right.
And if the customer is not going to say, you're right, and admit it and then kind of move on, you probably don't want them as a customer anyway, because they're going to be terrible all the time, right?
And that rolls right into the that was a great setup, by the way. Congratulations. That was great. That rolls right into the next thing, which is all about firing all your customers.
Maybe not all of them.
I mean, but your job would be easier.
It would be much easier. What you want to do is, you don't want to be like a slave to your customers. You don't want to be subservient to them constantly, right? The relationship should be balanced. You want to have a good business that is successful, that grows to the point where, you know, it hits the limit you want to hit, and that you're satisfied being an owner of this business. Because if you wanted a job you hated, I mean, you can go get one of those. That's easy. Those are like the easiest jobs to get.
A lot of people work for Amazon.
Yeah. I have no clue if that's a good job or not.
No, me neither.
But,
I mean, I have a suspicion.
I have a suspicion. I do know that it's easy to get the jobs that nobody wants to have. Owning your own business is challenging. Right. It's not an easy thing to do. And since you've put so much work into it, you should have a little bit of say of who you're going to let boss you around, who are you going to let, participate in doing business with you. And not everybody needs to be super great and pleasant. And it's always a balance of how much money do they give me and how big is the headache. And that's a sliding scale. But if you have a particular, customer whether it's one or two or three, and you notice that they slow you down from growth, their jobs are not profitable, they stress you out. When the phone rings, like you make a noise before you pick it up, right? If all of these things are happening, then this customer is actually making it worse for all of your other customers.
Right. That's a good point. I think like you've got to really own the idea that you don't have to say yes. You don't have to say yes to your current customers. You don't have to say yes to new customers. You put yourself in the situation where you're getting business that you want. Like right now, I'm at the point where in the marketing practice, I'm starting to say no to potential customers. Just right up front, I'll have a little conversation with you. I'll try to help, but I really can't take any more clients until the end of the year. I'm just too busy. So it's a no. And some of the people that I'm just like, really like, you don't want to spend enough money, or I'm really not interested in that business, or you've just fired your third marketing person. It's probably not the marketing, it's probably you. You can make those decisions when you talk to people and just say, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to help. I'm too busy at the moment. Feel free to try again another time.
Right. And so then even we can even expand this from fire customers or refuse new customers.
Yes.
Right. So they do fall into the same territory. One is you already know that they're tough to deal with, or you don't mesh for whatever reason that is. Or and also another thing is they could be the nicest, coolest person, but it just so happens that what they need is not what you deliver very well. Whether it's a type of apparel or a specific service, maybe I had a friend who had a t-shirt shop, and he had a customer that was like, just like a salesperson hustler, right? And he would go find people that wanted shirts, right, in his neighborhood. So he would just talk to business owners, and then he would find somebody who wanted t-shirts, and he would call him up and he'd be like, hey, I need 20 t-shirts tomorrow. Can you make it happen? How much? Oh, the job pays this. Oh, okay, great. And he said at first it was good because the money was good. He's like, this guy's paying me $20 a t-shirt. I didn't have to do any of the sales, and, et cetera, et cetera. The problem was every time this guy called, he needed the shirts within sometimes hours. Can you make these tonight, man? And the money was good. So the guy knew, he said he was a cool guy. He's like, listen, this guy pays a lot for shirts. He knows how expensive it is to do super rush orders. That's probably why he charges his customers whatever he was charging them, that he could afford to pay, $20-$30 a shirt wholesale, right? Because he's making profit on that. And eventually he just said, hey, I can't do this. It's not in his flow of business. He was doing like e-commerce stuff. So he had very planned out orders, and he was dealing with shipping and all that stuff. And he couldn't drop everything and do an order because he was in the middle of making things from people he promised he was going to ship out today that ordered between, 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock the next day, stuff like that.
That's a great example. And I think as your business grows, you do have to constantly reevaluate, unfortunately, some of those early customers, because there may have been compromises that you made, or, when you've got unlimited availability because you've only got 5 customers or 10 customers. So you've got plenty of time to do whatever they want you to do for money, right? So you've got the time and the equipment, you can do it. When you get to 50, it may be that the way those first few customers, you can't support that kind of relationship anymore. You may get to that point. So if you look at your existing customers as you grow, constantly reevaluate whether this is the most profitable use of my time, and this is the best application for the business that you're building.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that actually goes into a bunch of stuff, which is almost a whole podcast in and of itself, right? Of sometimes you have to raise prices for these customers or change policy on older customers. And it happens to us every single day, everywhere we go, right? Return policies change, your doctor's office's policies change. I mean, things change all the time. And sometimes you no longer do business with those places, right? Whether it's because they've kind of made it where they don't do what you do anymore. They've essentially fired you. Right. If and it gets even interestingly complicated, but when you're talking about just retail stores do it to you all the time, right? Lowe's used to carry a particular product all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a contractor and used to go there all the time and buy this product. Well, Lowe's decided not to carry it. Why? Maybe they broke on the shelf too much, or it wasn't profitable enough, or the vendor was hard to deal with. Whatever it was, they decide we're not going to carry it. And we know that there's a bunch of contractors who might not shop here anymore because that's what they use. And they've essentially had to kind of fire you in a way. Not your fault. They would love the business, but it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Example. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So you have to think of your business holistically, look at groups of customers you have, and it also could work for products as well. But look at all that and decide what shouldn't be there anymore every once in a while. And you'll know it when you feel it. And I know that that's really complicated when it gets to be, I mean, what do you do, Mark, if you have a customer? I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah. You have a customer that's like 40% of your income. And you like really don't like them for many reasons, right? But they're almost keeping your business afloat. Yeah. So what would you do? What would you do?
I mean, it would be hard for me to get into that position because I really will only do business with people that I like. There was one.
I'm going to change it up on you then.
Okay.
I'm going to change it up because that is a great, easy answer, but I want to make it harder for you.
Okay. Hit me with something harder.
So here's the twist on it is that you have a client who was like your favorite client, good money, great, every A+ across the board. Okay. And then they sold their business. They called you up one day and said, hey, by the way, this person's taking over starting next week. And great, well, a week goes by, all of a sudden this new person's a nightmare. But they're 50% of your income. How do you handle something like that? Because I know that's a challenge that I've read online. And that's why I'm asking is because I've read this online on Facebook groups. I've talked to somebody in person about this where they said, gosh, I would love to get rid of this customer, but it's so much money.
Yeah. So I would do two things, and I can appreciate that situation. What I would do is I would set a transition period goal, and I would aggressively look for replacement business. Like I would spend all my time looking for replacement business. Because if I've got one customer that's 50% of the business, that means I'm probably spending too much time executing that job than I am prospecting for new business. And I would just have to either work harder or free up extra time some way from that account or another to look for a replacement. Giving myself a deadline at the end of that period, I'm just not going to do it anymore. So 90 days, try to get more clients to fill in as much of that, do whatever you can to do that. And then just let them go because it's not worth it.
Yeah. And I actually, when I spoke to someone in person about that, that's kind of the answer I gave. So that actually builds some confidence and having given someone that advice before. But I said, what you should honestly do is, first I said, shore up the whole house, meaning that make sure all your stuff is like efficient, clean, ready to go. So you can make time. Because what you're going to need to do next is you're going to need to find like 10% of your time. Let's just pretend you're doing 50 hours a week, 5 hours a week to find hopefully multiple clients to replace that one.
Right.
And that's what I would say to do, because it's the same exact thing as if you work a job, which everyone in their life has, that they really hated. What do? You start looking for another job. And then when you find it, you get to leave the other job.
And
so you're doing the same thing just with clients.
If you have the financial luxury to do this or the wherewithal to plan more carefully, organize your personal life so that 50% customer doesn't drive you bankrupt.
There you go.
Organize your finances so you can lose 2 customers or 3 customers or, 25% of your business. And you may not get rich that year, but you're going to be okay until you find somebody else. So the business number looks like crap, but your life is okay.
Okay, that's good too. I think that's great. And those are all realistic things, and it is a real challenge in business. But the reason why you're going to want to do this is because of what I said starting off, right? The goal is to have a successful business that does well, that hits your goals, and is satisfying to own and run. And it's going to help when you're in a good mood and you're happy to run your business and you're satisfied, it helps all of your other clients because they're going to hear it in your voice. I'm setting the next one up pretty good. Aren't I?
I like that.
They're going to hear it in your voice. They're going to like to talk to you. They're going to want to participate in doing business with you. So that leads us to the next one.
Okay, go ahead. You're going to have to read your first line then.
It's just be friendly.
Yeah.
Be nice to talk to. You catch more flies with honey is what they say.
Okay, so stop.
Is it?
So
do they say that?
Why are you catching flies? Like, do you have a spider or, what do you like? Why? What is the whole point behind wasting honey? To go out and try to catch flies?
I'm in the larva business.
You're in the larva business.
Yeah.
You're a fly fisherman.
Yeah. Well, no, not exactly, but
flies.
Yeah.
Is that not what that means?
I think it means, I'm sure somebody could look this up. But I would imagine that if they would land on the honey and maybe get stuck, or you could put poison in it.
Okay, poison honey is not something I ever thought of.
I mean, you don't want fly. Nobody wants flies unless you're in the larva business.
Yeah, the larva business. I'm going to Google that. Larva business for sale. So I agree. So the more that you honestly, it really is the way it works. When I'm talking to a customer and I actually realize I can help them, like I was, an attorney was using Google search ads and he said he was wasting money. He was just going to cancel it. So I took a quick look and he hired me to redo some stuff. And within like 2 weeks, his cost per customer was down by 50%. Right. So that's a huge boost. And being able to take that enthusiasm to the next customer, like you successfully are, you've got 20 customers that you keep happy. It makes you feel more positive about your business. The next time you pick up the phone to talk to somebody, that as you grow, you're going to bring that same kind of performance. And it makes it easy to be friendly, easy to be naturally get more business when you talk to people about it.
Right. So, and that kind of, ties it together with the getting rid of bad customers. You have good customers that you're happy to work with. Generally, you're satisfied with your business and you're going to do well. And also just friendliness in general. Even if you have some bad customers, resetting yourself, being friendly, answering the phone in a friendly way, telling people you're happy to help them, saying, sure, no problem. Don't worry about that. I appreciate your business. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to help you. I mean, just being a friendly and good person is generally speaking going to have people want to do business with you. Yeah. And, I do find that people who have busy businesses, are usually the jerkiest, but they don't really, it's because they don't really want new customers though. They're too busy.
Yeah. I think, I was thinking about when you fire that customer that is no longer fits your business or whatever the reason is, I think it would be a very friendly idea to make a few suggestions on other companies that might fulfill their needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you really don't like someone, but you still want to be friendly and kick them loose, then suggest that they buy from Amazon merch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things you could suggest, and I mean, there's a whole episode about how to fire customers, right? And I've read a lot of things about how to fire customers and make money from it, and how to fire customers but get referrals from them, and there's all these interesting things you can do. But I think the ultimate thing is that when you're when people like you and they recognize that you're sincere and that you're really trying to do, good for them, right? So when all that, kind of happens, then people are going to adhere to the reminders you gave for them. They're going to respect your time and show up to your calendar invites. They're going to follow your procedures. If you say, hey, get me the artwork, within 48 hours, they're going to do it because they don't want to do bad by you because, you treat them right. You're good to them. And that's, I think, one of the great things and one of the more important things about being friendly is you catch more flies with honey, whatever that actually is supposed to mean. I don't know. But when you want people to do things for you, that you prefer to do things for you for people that you like than to do favors or things for people that you don't really like. And I'll tell you, a lot of, plenty of businesses we've all done with, it's just, you're almost bothered to give them money because the person that you work with is just not friendly. It doesn't seem like they care about you or your business. And that's, that's still important. Customer service is still important. And I had a conversation with friends of mine, not exactly related to this, but in a way, and they were talking about, everybody wants like a tip now. Like you can't buy anywhere without them flipping an iPad around and wanting you to answer questions and to tip them for doing nothing, basically. Right. But that came up in a group chat, and then we were all talking about that, and then it morphed into tipping the people you should tip, and everybody pretty much agreed that they're like, if I have a server or whatever it is that really seems like they're working hard and they're treating me right and they're doing good things, I'm happy to over tip them.
Yes.
They were all saying like that they liked doing that. I said that we've got ice cream for the family and there's a young kid behind the counter. As soon as we walked in, super friendly, really nice to the kids, just treated them like kids, treated us like adults, like he went and then he made everything with care. You could tell like he wasn't just sloppily putting it together. And it came, we checked out, it's like $18. And I gave the kid $5. I normally would not do that on like ice cream. Right. But I was just in a situation where I said, this was like, it made an experience that I was expecting to be annoying, bringing kids and a bunch of adults into an ice cream place, and I was going to pay for it. And it turned into, it just turned into a whole pleasant thing. And I said, you know what, this kid deserves to be rewarded. I noticed we've been here and like nobody else has been here this whole time. So he's not tipping out a bunch of money tonight. And you do it. So I think that all in all, that just comes to a really long way to make a point that if you're friendly, you will get good customers. You'll keep good customers, and it'll give you the ability to fire those bad ones.
I love it. All right. I think that's it for me.
All right, then. Well, in regards to this, what I want is, I think kind of the homework thing to do is, if you don't have a CRM, you should start making the moves to get one, even if it's a free one. Make sure you know how to use your reminder and your calendar apps, whether it's in the CRM that you're going to use or on your phone. And if you can tie those together, your whatever email you have, Google, Office 365, iCloud, they all have calendar and reminder type of apps. And then consider some of your policies and procedures. How can these tie in together? And then just be a good person to do business with, and try not to do business with bad people. And then overall, that's going to really help you keep those great customers and grow your business, hit your goals.
I love it. This has been Mark Stevenson from Clients First Marketing.
And Mark Vila from ColDesi.
You guys have a fantastic, well-organized, CRM-driven, friendly, growing business.
Wonderful.